A new kind of soybean harvested for the first time right here in Nebraska. We'll have more on this and at ways that you can track your yields while in the thick of harvest. And new animal regulations raising some eyebrows as to how it could have an impact on local livestock, plus a constant effort to try something new, build, conserve, and protect the land that grows our crops. NTV's Grow starts now. This harvest marks the first time for high oleic soybeans to be harvested here in Nebraska. Here's NTV's Steve White with more.
Soybeans fill the grain cart for a first in Nebraska.
These are the Plenish soybeans from Pioneer. You know, they're a high oleic soybean that are being processed in Nebraska down at AGP in Hastings.
This is the first year the new variety is harvested in Nebraska. And while there's a lot of interest, some growers weren't sure how they'd perform and what hoops they'd have to jump through to grow them.
That's why I waited a year, just to see how everything goes.
But the honeycuts are all in. The only soybeans they grew this year are the new ones. They earn 40 to 50 cents a bushel more for farmers, but do require a little extra attention.
So, you know, you're not just able to take them into the elevator at harvest. So, yeah, if you're not used to storing soybeans, you know, you got some challenges there, but it should be a good concept overall.
Soybean oil has lost market share because of health concerns with hydrogenation. But the new cooking oil, marketed under the name Plenish, has no trans fats and can even be used with the popcorn the honeycuts also grow.
The next time you're at a high school football game or basketball game, you see preferred popcorn and Plenish oil, you can realize that it's all locally sourced.
And it's a way for farmers to add value with every acre.
Take a place like Nebraska with our great irrigation and everything else that we have, you know, we have the ability to grow a lot of specialty crops because companies want to come here because of our consistency in yield, whether it's on soybeans or on corn.
With harvest being in full swing right now, extension educators want to make sure that you are collecting good data out there in the fields. Experts say make sure your yield monitor and other equipment are up to date. You may need to check with your dealership or the company's website to make sure the software is the most current. Then make sure the yield monitor is calibrated properly. University's Crop Watch website has more information on that. And of course, in this busy season, make sure that you are taking time for safety. Nebraska Public Power District urges farm operators be aware of overhead power lines. It's important to keep farm equipment safely away from the lines, know what to do if accident contact is made with power lines, and they also encourage farmers look up and around when working in fields, especially on end rows. If machinery does become entangled in power lines, remain inside the cab until help arrives. And now let's take a look at grain stocks here in the state. USDA reports 216 million bushels in all positions as of September 1st, up 19% from last year. Of that total, 84 million bushels stored on farms. That's up 65% from last year. For soybeans, we're looking at fewer bushels stored on the farm. And with wheat, there's a big increase in storage on farm there as well. And many farms that signed up for government programs will receive payments here this year. The USDA announced many who signed up under the ARC or PLC programs will receive payments due to market downturns. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack said the USDA will make more than $7 billion in payments this fall. The money should provide some reassurance to farm families. The USDA has not released how much of that money will be coming to producers, though, here in Nebraska. Ag co-ops report a record number of profits despite the downturn, another rough 12 months here when it comes to the farm economy as a whole. According to the USDA, net income for the nation's 29,000 cooperatives rose in 2015 by 14% to a record $7 billion. 8 of the top 100 co-ops are here in Nebraska, including Central Valley in York, Aurora Cooperative in Aurora, Farmers Cooperative in Dorchester, and CPI in Hastings. A big deal in Ravenna, the ethanol plant purchased there by Kappa Ethanol. Kappa officials say that they were aggressive with the bid at $115 million. They say not only will the 90 million gallon facility add value to other plants, but also boost morale and the economy in the area as well.
The great fit about this facility is that not only is it a great facility and a good location, but there's some tremendous synergies that can come out of this in working the two plants closely together.
All 53 previous employees were offered jobs at the new Kappa facility. And making pellets from that ethanol byproduct, there's a company that patented the process, and they are even able to export more of this feed farther away. Platte Valley Distillers' technique will allow it to make feed pellets in Lexington. Ethanol plants routinely sell Distillers grain as a livestock feed, but their market tends to be limited to the area near their plants. That's because wet Distillers grain can be costly to ship, and the dry version of the feed tends to fall apart or spoil. And a major company joins a Nebraska partnership dedicated to food safety. 3M joined the Alliance for Advanced Food Sanitation, launched last year by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. The company said food safety is a global megatrend, and they will be working with other companies like Cargill, Hershey, Kellogg's, and more. They're looking for better ways to control the spread of pathogens during food processing. The alliance is based at the Nebraska Innovation Campus. Farm Bureau turns up the heat on the EPA. Nebraska Farm Bureau says if atrazine is no longer available, it would cost $13,000 per corn farm in the state. Farm Bureau Steve Nelson urged the EPA not to ignore the studies that show atrazine is safe. However, the EPA said the popular weed killer does cause problems for birds and fish in the environment. According to Nebraska Farm Bureau's estimates, the loss of atrazine for weed control on corn would cost Nebraska farmers almost $315 million based on per-acre figures published in private economic studies. Hall County takes steps to deal with exotic animals. Meanwhile, some are a little worried about what this could mean for the livestock industry. Hall County Board updated animal regulations. For the first time in half a century, they wanted to come into line with state law and make it easier for the sheriff to enforce. But one board member raised concerns the rules could be used against livestock producers. The local Humane Society argues they want all animals to be treated well.
Well, and livestock is affected, but we are called by people that are living next door to animals that are starving, and the vast majority of people invest in their livestock, care about their livestock. That is their livelihood. But there are some that don't.
Hall County will also create an animal advisory board and said they will make sure to have rural representation on it. October is here, so thank a pig farmer. The head of Nebraska Pork Producers says October became known as Pork Month because it was the time of year when hogs were traditionally marketed. Nonprofit Pork Producers Association said Nebraska ranks number 6 for hog production, with more than 3 million pigs raised, generating more than $1 billion in annual receipts. About 25% of that is exported to other countries as well. With many Nebraskans being raised generations off the farm, there's a lot of kids out there who do not know where their food comes from. Raising Nebraska is open more than just during the state fair. This week, they hosted kids from several area schools, including Centura and Wood River, offering hands-on programs as kids learn things like how to milk and how it gets from the cow to the grocery store.
It does like a gentle little thing, and then it gets the milk, and then it goes through this thingy, and it goes through a tube into a little, kind of like a little grain bin, but it holds milk.
Agriculture is Nebraska's #1 economy, and so being able to connect these youth to farming is a great piece of it.
They have a Science Saturday event this weekend and a mystery food competition going on, and are booking schools for programs as well. Documenting water use and intentions. Details on that coming up after the break. Also find out if you can get back into those fields with your grow forecast. And before we go, we remember a state leader. documenting water use and its intentions. Details on that coming up after the break. Find out if you can get back out into the fields this week ahead in your grow forecast. Now, before we go to the break, we remember a respected cattleman and state fair board leader. Lowell Meinert of Dunning passed away this past week. He was involved with the Nebraska Cattlemen and Angus Association, was serving on the state fair board at the time of his death. He was supporting of youth livestock shows and welcomed visitors from all around the world to his ranch in the Sandhills.